Good morning. This is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and I'm here to discuss with you all the ultimate One Piece ban list. So this is ban list 2. I never went over ban list 1 because it was just 2 cards, and now we have 3 more cards. I want to discuss ban list 1 and ban list 2 all in one video, and discuss the ultimate fate of the One Piece guard game as it is right now. So let's get straight into this. So first things first, to understand ban list 2, we got to understand ban list 1 and how it came out. So first things first, I want to get the outlier out of the way. We got to talk about Kabaji. Now, Kabaji is the blue card you see before you. He is a very, very powerful card, but for a completely unrelated deck to our discussion today. So Kabaji is part of the Nami deck. Nami plays unlike every other deck in the game. Every other deck in the game wants to hit your opponent until they have 0 life and then ultimately kill them. Nami doesn't. Nami's whole gimmick is that she wants to mill or draw all her cards into her deck until she wins with her alternate win condition. She's the only alternate win condition leader in the entire game. And Kabaji is absolutely stupid because not only does it help you just thin out your deck immensely quickly, but also it basically is loopable. So Nami has a lot of cards that bounce cards back to hand. So the gimmick of this deck was you would just bounce Kabaji back to hand and keep resummoning him to ultimately go through your deck at breakneck speeds. And by like turn 5 or 6, you would be like at 5 or 6 cards left. And the whole gimmick of Nami is that basically you protect yourself with a whole bunch of counter cards and a whole bunch of quips, a whole bunch of spell cards and counters, and it's very hard to hit a Nami. So imagine that Nami going through their deck at neck break pace and ultimately drawing and drawing and drawing and protecting themselves very well. Like by the time you hit them once, they're already down to like 20 cards, which is a death sentence. Because that means by the time you get down to their 1 life, they're probably at like 2 or 3 cards, and that means any spell card wins them the game. It's a very, very sad state of affairs, and that is why it got banned before we even had a chance to play it in the TCG. Yeah, so the OCG and the TCG ban lists are the same. So Nami was hurt and nerfed before we even got it stateside, which is kind of hilarious, but actually a very healthy thing, because I'm glad we didn't have to deal with the degenerateness of Nami as a number 1 deck. Now, I don't think it would have been number 1. I definitely would be a solid 2 or 3 deck, but again, no one wants to deal with a Nami deck that just wants to mill. It's solitaire. No one wants to play with solitaire. So I'm glad that in the TCG right now, it is not doing so well. So be thankful for that. Now, the main discussion of this video is Whitebeard. Whitebeard is a whole other beast entirely. For ban list number 1, they hit his field spell, the Moby Dick. And we thought that would have been enough, but it turns out no. So to explain the Moby Dick, we got to explain the leader, Whitebeard. So Whitebeard is a 6,000 attack, 6 life leader whose effect is actually his downside. So his effect states that once per turn, during the end phase of your turn, you add a life from your life to your hand. Now, the reason why this is actually essential is that basically his effect is his downside. The reason why Whitebeard is so strong is that he's a 6,000 attack leader with 6 life. Even though you do lose a life every turn, the fact you get to swing with no Dawn for 6,000 at every leader that's 5,000 or lower with like 0 things is a ridiculous, ridiculous ability. Basically, Whitebeard is always swinging for a double counter every turn, and once you get Dawn involved and other characters involved, it becomes a nightmare to kill Whitebeard, because Whitebeard is a red leader, meaning he has access to every rush card in the game, meaning that Whitebeard is actively trying to kill you by turn 4. Every card is gigantic or has rush, and he's just trying to poke and poke and poke until you're dead. And that is why they had to hit Moby Dick. Now, Moby Dick is the field spell for the Whitebeard Pirates. Basically says if your leader is a Whitebeard Pirate, I think it has to be specifically Edward Newgate, but I could be mistaken. Basically, what it does is that when you hit 2 or less life, you basically gain the effect where hey, your leader and all your characters on your turn gain 2,000 power. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when every leader besides Whitebeard is at 5k attack, and every character you control now becomes an 8k at minimum without using Dawn, it becomes a real nightmare. Whitebeard is consistently hitting you for 10 cost every turn with just one character. It is absolutely terrifying when Whitebeard had Moby Dick. It was literally an unbeatable game state. Doesn't matter he was losing life every turn. What matters was he just hit you really, really hard, and he had so many resources from the hand from adding cards from his life to his hand that it didn't matter that ultimately you got him down to 0 life because you would never actually hit him. He had amazing blockers. He's a 6,000. That means you had to at least put 1 Dawn on all your characters just to hit him once, which is a big feat. Not to mention, the deck played like 22k counters and a whole bunch of really powerful spell cards with low cost that basically made it impossible to kill a Whitebeard. And and that's how it kind of stayed until the Moby Dick was banned. Now we've had a new TCG ban list. Before I discuss the new TCG ban list that came out today, I don't know why I keep calling it a TCG ban list because it's technically just everyone, the world ban list, because the TCG and the OCG are the same ban list. But before I discuss that, let's discuss the stats. So as you can see with this chalkboard, Whitebeard is the strongest deck in the game. It's probably tied with Zoro as the strongest deck, then followed by Katakuri, and then it goes Law, and then it goes from there. This is the OCG ban list, so there's a couple of decks that we don't have until set 4 on here. For example, I think Rebecca's on this list, even though Rebecca isn't out for the TCG. But as you can see, there's 3 red decks as the best decks: Zoro, Law, and Whitebeard. And Whitebeard and Zoro have been the strongest decks since set 2. Honestly, Zoro's been the best deck since set 1. Then it was Whitebeard set 2, and it's been Whitebeard ever since. So Konami has had enough of Whitebeard, and honestly Red in general. So the new ban list actually hits both Zoro and Whitebeard, and technically all red decks in general. So let's actually go over these cards now. So for the new ban list that just got revealed tonight, actually, we have 3 new cards. First things first, they're all being put to 1. None of these cards are banned, so they're all TCG legal and OCG legal, but you can only play 1 copy of them each. Unlike the Moby Dick and Kabaji, they are banned. You can't play them at all. You can, however, play these 3 cards, but they just have to be at 1. So first things first, we have Whitebeard. Whitebeard is a 10-drop, gigantic monster. Actually, I think he's a 9-drop. Anyway, he is gigantic. And basically, on summon, your leader gains 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's turn. Meaning, if you're Whitebeard, your leader just became an 8,000 attack position monster. And also, if your leader is Whitebeard, you cannot add life from your deck to hand. Meaning, for that turn, when you summon that Whitebeard, you cannot lose life from the effect of your Whitebeard leader. Meaning, you are just free from worrying about your life losing life, and you have a free 10,000 attack monster on the field that not only is putting huge pressure on your opponent, but also with 2 Dawn on him, kills a 3 or less cost monster when he attacks. It is an oppressive monster, and I'm glad it's been put down to 1, especially since it was searchable off multiple red cards. So I'm glad Whitebeard has been put down to 1. The next card we gotta talk about is more of a red hit in general. It's not just Whitebeard played this card, but definitely Zoro and Whitebeard and possibly Law played this card. And that would have to be Marco. Marco is probably the most busted level 4 blocker this game has ever seen. Marco is a 1,000 counter, a level 4, 5,000 attack, red blocker that basically says, hey, when he is KO'd, trash 1 card from your hand, special summon him in defense position, and that's it. That's all he does. Now, you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? He blocks once, and then you discard a card, and he reborns himself. What's the big deal? Well, there's not a once per turn on Marco, meaning if you had 2 Marcos on the field, and you can just continuously have them save you from death, I think keep bringing them back for the next turn. Yes, they can't continually block, but who cares when you have free 5k blockers that are just keeping you alive and they can't be killed. Talk about saving your resources. All you gotta do is discard one card and you can save a Marco from the graveyard. It is an absolutely busted card, and I'm glad it's been put down to 1. It was being played in not only Whitebeard, but it's also being played in Zoro, and possibly even Ace, and of course, Law, which is another red deck that I didn't mention Ace, but Ace is also a broken red deck that's also in the format. So that's 4 red decks that we got to deal with. But luckily, this nerf hurts all of them. The final card I need to discuss today is Radical Beam. I think Radical Beam came out set 2. I think all these cards came out set 2. Radical Beam is a very, very powerful card. Basically, if you have 2 or less life, this card becomes a 4 counter, which is absolutely absurd. So basically it says, hey, instead of gaining 2,000 attack, you gain 4,000 attack. And because it's such a low cost and Whitebeard gets the 2 life very quickly, this card is just basically a free life. Because not only does it just say, hey, for this battle, I've just gained 4,000 for no reason, but if this is ever hit off your life as a trigger, your leader gains 1,000 power this turn. Meaning a Whitebeard, if you hit this off his life, meaning he becomes a 7,000 attack leader for the rest of the turn. And for decks like Doflamingo and any other leader that's like 5 or lower, hitting for 7,000 consistently to not only counters but also blockers is nearly impossible. And don't even get me started if Whitebeard was summoned that turn, meaning Whitebeard is already giving it another additional 2,000 attack power, meaning you gotta hit him for 9 consistency multiple times that turn. Not gonna happen. You're not killing a Whitebeard. That's why all these cards were hit, and that's why I'm happy to discuss if Whitebeard is still playable. I think so. I think he's still a very, very powerful leader. The fact that he's just a 6,000 leader means he's always going to be playable, even though his downside of losing life sucks. Who cares? His leader is still gigantically powerful. I think Zoro may edge him out as the better red leader, maybe even Ace now, but I still think Whitebeard is still an impressive leader that, honestly, I think they should have hit the leader himself and not the actual cards. If they really wanted to balance it out, I think they should have just banned the Whitebeard leader. But that's just my opinion. Whitebeard is a very popular character, and I wouldn't see banning the 10 drop anyway. I don't think the 10 drop needed to be banned, so I'm glad it's at 1. You all tell me if you actually play the card game, if you agree with these hits, if you don't agree with these hits. You all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.